Okay, I think that we are live. Oh, hold on. Make sure. Okay, guys. Well, I think I'm live. Tell me, guys, if I've got good audio and sound. You can hear me okay? Okay. Scout, how are you, sweetie? Sandra, Mark Klein, hello. Martin, we're good? Okay, thanks, guys. That is awesome. Good. Make sure that this is on. Okay. Perfect. Okay, guys, awesome. Thanks, Sandra. All right, we're gonna get started, okay? Hi, Chloe, Stephanie, how are you guys? Awesome. Well, I hope everyone is having a fabulous evening, night. Depending on where you are in the world, we have people who tune in from all across the globe, different time zones, guys. So thank you guys for hanging with me and supporting me in the channel here. We're gonna kind of roll right into it. So yes, that's the plan. Stephanie Sands, hello. Caleb, long time no see, sweetie. How are you? You're my biggest fan, really? Okay, but it's good to see you, though. It has been a long time. It's good to see you. All right. Well, if this is your first time tuning in or you haven't been part of what we're doing here, we're covering personal development, how to really grow and really put in place the structure, the foundation, the elements to be the best version that you can for yourself. And in this entire segmentation series, we're covering, a gamut of information, tips, tools, my personal experience. I've worked in corporate America for well over 12 years in my life. So bringing to you my wisdom, my insights, my perspective, my learnings from my own journey on personal development. For those who don't know me, I have been a student of personal development literally, I'd say my whole life, but I could definitely quantify that and say at the earliest since the age of 14. If you don't know my story on how I began personal development, I'll share a little snippet there. Yeah, and I don't really share too many things, so when I do, consider that me being open and sharing. So yeah, there was one summer, I wanted to get a car, and my dad was like, if you transcribe all of these, Tony Robbins, I guess back then, this is way back in the day, the cassettes collections, cassettes, okay? It was a really big, the plastic binder that's how he used to sell, I guess, his information. He probably still does. I don't know how he does it now, but anyway, so I transcribed hours and hours and hours of footage and tape. That was obviously when I was 14, but prior to that, just kind of giving you guys some insights into my personality, who I am at my core. There was a lot of things I did in childhood that I would say are rare things that most kids probably don't do. It doesn't mean that you don't do them at all, but I would say it's probably less likely you'd find kids on this pursuit. But when I dove into dissecting my life and my entire journey, one of the things I encourage a lot of people to do is to go back into their life and look at the moments, the ones you can pull out, where there were some defining moments that maybe you overlooked, or, like in our own life experience, we kind of overlook things that we do that have made us who we are. Hopefully you can find some positive things in your life experience. Not everyone's going to have that. But if you can look and find those things, you can kind of see the patterns of the person that you have been becoming, right? So that was just part of my own personal journey that I've done like years ago. This is not recent, but so when I was probably, I was, what grade was that? I think it was like 5th grade. Probably before that, actually. Yeah, but let's just go with 5th grade. I don't know how old the kid is in 5th grade. Actually, I do. My son's 11, so I was probably like 10 or 11 years old. And my parents both worked full-time jobs, so I had to depend on myself to, study, teach myself, just, I guess, a lot of things independently. And so I remember never having anyone. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings, so I never had anyone to like really, test me on the information. Because by the time my parents came home, it was really late and they were just always going straight to sleep. So I had to learn to figure out different ways. I would create note cards, notes. I would write things down to try to absorb the information. My younger brothers, of course, they couldn't help me. So what I would do, this is like back in the day when the cassette tapes existed, guys. I know this is so back in the day. And this is like way back when cassette tapes, or the whole Walkman thing, the cassette Walkman, was even like a new thing back then. Literally, guys, okay? You guys know how old I am. And so if we're going back to when I was like 10, we're talking a lot of time. We're talking like 25 years ago. So that sounds like a long time ago. Anyways, my point of sharing the story is that I had always learned to be resourceful. Let me explain that story. So I would basically record my voice, reading over my own notes that I took from like the history books, the government books, that I had to be prepared for the test. If I couldn't have someone quiz me or test me, I had to pretty much find ways to test myself, to push myself, to be the best, to study, to know the information, the material, the content. And not having anyone in my family to assist me. This is before cell phones, guys. I mean, I guess I could have called a friend on the phone and was like, hey, quiz me. But I don't think people did that back then. My point of the story, guys, is that, so I would record myself on the Walkman, and then I would, test myself like that. Had the answers there so I knew if I was correct or not. What I would also do was play the tape all night long. So in my brain as I'm sleeping, okay, as a 10-year-old, tell me what 10-year-olds do this. I don't know any. In my brain as I'm sleeping, I'm hearing my own voice, audio, right, with the headphones, play my own voice of the notes for whether it was history, government, science, you name it. So I tested myself with my own self, and then I would play it. So subconsciously, as I was sleeping, I was even hearing it in my subconscious brain, guys. This is a very interesting thing I'm sharing because this is who I am today. These stories are my real life. So there's no one, this is just the way that my brain is always operated. I've tried to optimize things, find ways to integrate, to learn, to overcome the barriers, the blockages, whatever was going to be thrown in my way. I didn't see it as like a problem. I saw it as, okay, what can I do? How do I work around this issue? How do I come to a conclusion? How do I find a solution? So for those who don't know who I am, besides just the small interactions we have here, sometimes me sharing little bits and pieces of my life kind of help put some things into perspective of who I am, why I am, how I've become the person I am today. So by no means do I say I'm a complete process. We are not complete, guys, until we die. You know, we are always growing, evolving, learning, overcoming, becoming, we're creating. There's a lot of things that are always in motion. So I consider myself a lifelong student of growth, development, optimization. I would say that I am hardwired to find ways to overcome, to find solutions. So a lot of the times in my interactions with people offline or in our Zoom calls, people have asked me, you know, was I always like this? When was the point in time? I know that I have shared some of these things in previous live streams, like maybe a year back, maybe almost 2 years ago, I don't remember. But in case we have new people here, I just thought it would be, you know, interesting to share my real experiences, you know. So hopefully that brought some insight to those who were maybe curious about how this journey began for me. So let me know. We're gonna roll right through this though, but let me know. Hi, Matt Sully. How are you, sweetie? Okay. We're gonna keep rolling. So one thing that and the purpose of me sharing this message is, you know, here in this segmentation of personal development, it's always important, guys, to reflect. You must be looking, you want to be able to take the moments when it's quiet and reflect or introspect on who you are and why you are the way you are. Even if who you are is not who even if who you are right now is not who you want to be, that's okay. But you want to know, you want to be able to be comfortable with the things that have happened in your life, good and bad, okay? But don't focus too much on the bad parts, just because it can really mess with yourself. You know, I always urge people to do this process with a healthy balance. Even if you've had a very difficult life of pain and suffering or tragedy, which many people have, okay? I understand that. So don't place too much of your energy on the negative or the hard parts that you've overcome. It's okay to know though that's truth for you, but don't stay there too long. You gotta remove yourself from those experiences energetically, because you don't want to get saturated in too much of emotional pain. Now, it's okay to be there a little bit, yes, but don't stay there too long for your own, you know, development, your own psyche, okay? Hopefully that made sense for those who are hearing this message. Let's see. I wanted to also cover, yeah. So one thing I always tell friends and family and people who I, you know, interact with offline is, when you're introspecting and you're going through your life experiences, start with the moments that you feel, you know, your happiest memories. If you had memories where you felt proud of yourself, start there. Don't start with the painful ones, and work your way through the process, okay? If you take too much of your energy and your effort on the painful moments without a balance of maybe some things in your life that took place, you know, try to find moments, memories, whatever you can grasp onto. It does not have to be something so eventful. So sometimes people can make this too complicated, and that's not the purpose. The purpose is to simplify this. It can be something as simple as your birthday. Now, that might not be a good point because some people are triggered by their birthdays, the lack of birthday celebrations. It's just an analogy. Try your best to tap into the memories that were harmonious for your emotional well-being. So if you can try to go into the past and write down the memories, the moments where you felt most alive or happy or proud or accomplished, right? Try to start the earliest memory you can find, and you work your way to the present time. This is not something you do overnight. This is something you do over a period of time, right? And give yourself a break, right? Don't do it all like back to back. It's too much emotional for people who have a lot to work through. Okay, so I've done this in my life lots of times, so I know what could come to surface in the process. I do know that. So hopefully it's making sense. Let me know if it is or not so far. Hey, Joshua, Matt, Sully, Lisa, Via Lovos, how are you? First time watching me live? Yay! Sandra. Yay. All right. So we're going to keep rolling. All right, guys. All right. And before I forget, while I'm taking a small moment here, guys, if you're here and you value what I'm doing, give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much. It does help with the algorithms for YouTube. At least it shows people are watching the content. All right. Hi, Sporting Guista, Christy. How are you? All right. Oopsies. If you are just joining, you missed a really good intro segment. Uh-oh, hold on. Before I mess this all up here. So I got water on my computer. Okay. So that is how we're gonna start this off, guys, and we're gonna keep moving, okay? Oh, thanks, Joshua, for your donation. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. Let me pull my notes up, guys. Got my handy dandy notes. Okay. All right, so in case, now I'm looking at my notes here, so not the screen. So in this segmentation that we're doing here, this is to help bring, insights again, guys, perspectives, whatever wisdom that I have gained along my own life journey. I feel it's my contribution toward humanity to help bring more information to light. And I'm doing this from the kindness of my heart. I want to genuinely help people if I can. Those who come into my my space, my energetic wavelength, who cross paths with me. I think it's an honor and a blessing in a very mutual, respectful manner because, really life is about the people you keep close to you and life experiences, all the things that we do, life, coming at us creating in life, all of our encounters, our interactions, are a reflection of who we are, who we allow into our space, who we don't allow into our space. And so I value each and every one of you guys who come, and especially the people who've been with me for a while. I really, from my heart, appreciate the dedication and the loyalty and the commitment. So thank you. Okay, so from my notes, right, this is session 5, like I've told you guys. And I'll start off with, I have my little amethyst crystal here. Okay. Whenever you're going to approach like personal development and growth in any capacity, my best advice is to approach it from a very practical perspective. Sometimes if you're only reading books, going to, I don't know, like gurus or whatever, it's very far-fetched, intangible, and unrelatable. At least that has been my own personal experience. So I've learned from a very early age to like mentor myself. And many people, family, friends, they always come to me for guidance, information, feedback, just whatever it might be. And I'm honored that they do that because they trust me. They trust my judgment. They trust my character. They trust my integrity. They trust the realness in me. And so I say that because, it's always, when it's not you in that position, of whatever the situation might be happening or taking place. It's easy, to give advice, but to be a person who would give advice and also be living in a life experience of what they're learning is a whole different ball game. A lot of people can pretend to know a lot of information, but do they really live that life? Is that really their life experiences, or is it just what they, think their life is, or what they would like people to think about life? So the things I share are things that I tap into my real experience, things I've learned along the way that I've put into place in action, like practicality. It's great to have ideas and theories, and I don't mind discussing theories and ideologies, but what's real, what's tangible, what works, that's the most important place to make a real difference. So a lot of times, just in general, we can learn, we're consumers of information, we're consumers of content, but what do you have to show for all of the things that you're constantly taking in, right? Maybe it's not pleasant to think about if you spend your time consuming things that are not bringing you forward in this life. Then you may not feel good to reflect on that. But it's good to at least, at the bare minimum, have me reminding you that where we place our attention, our focus, our energy is exactly what we're going to get in return for the exchange. Okay, so if you're going to take in and be a consumer, which we all are consumers, we all are. If you leave an experience, whether it's on YouTube or whatever you're doing, friends, family, right, or social interactions, if you leave an experience and you don't feel good, well, that's a good indicator that, be more mindful, have more awareness. So when you're there again, or in that encounter another time, if you always leave not feeling great, that's a good indicator to yourself that maybe it's not in harmonious alignment with yourself, right? It's important to really build your emotional intelligence, build up your self-awareness. Otherwise, how can you ever develop and grow? If you're not willing to face how we place our attention every single day, how can you possibly care enough about yourself to improve your life? It's a real thing, okay? All right. Now, sometimes on the other side of things, you can actually reach further if you're willing to confront what scares you about this journey of personal development. Maybe it's simple as, you know what, I really don't want to open up that box. I know if I open up that box, it's going to implode, right? Or all these emotions from the past are going to surface. So sometimes you may not even realize that your subconscious is taking you away from your growth because you may have built up so much resentment, fear, trepidation on getting to the root of what is really in between you and the freedom and the full liberation of your self-expression, okay? So it's not enough to just learn information from me or from anywhere else. It's more important to put these things that you are taking away in play, right? That's why every lesson, every session here that we have together is leaving you with things, tangible and practical things that you can do, right? Simple things where you can take those baby steps and really get out into the fullness of yourself. Because the real you is inside of you, waiting, ready, doing whatever it's wanting to come to life, right? But sometimes our outer shell will suppress that part of ourselves because it's scary. We don't know if we do this, then what happens next? So even success or even the growth or even the betterment can, scare us to the point where we actually take no action, right? And no action is still the same as negative action. It's not moving us forward, okay? Alrighty, let's keep rolling. My notes here, okay. So And on another side of the extreme, because guys, we have a lot of different people here with different experiences, so I try to cover the gamut as best I can from my awareness of all perspectives. Another side of the fence, more than two sides of the fence, another side of the block could be where you are incessantly learning a lot of things, but never putting it into action. So that could be just as bad as not learning anything and not putting into action. So even if you're on the other side of the fence there and you're incessantly learning, but you're never taking the tangible, practical steps to actually put it into play, then it's no better. I mean, I guess you can say it's a slight bit better than not even knowing the information, I guess, but really it's not furthering yourself, okay? So, excuse me. So just don't get also swallowed in the idea of the learning and never really grow, all right? Especially people who love to learn. I love to learn, guys, so I love to learn, and I also keep myself in check, because if I only am learning, I'm a very big, you guys know I'm introvert. I like to read, research, forever on things. But if I don't put into play the things I learn, right, over periods of time, life, or whatever I'm looking into, whatever subject or topic, then really, it's not doing me any good keeping shelf space in my brain, right? The way that we grow, the way that we evolve as a human being, as a soul, a conscious soul, is to put into play the things that you are learning, even if it's in very small steps, micro steps, baby steps, pushing yourself to the edges. All right. So, let me just check in with everyone, see how we're doing. And then I'll get to the next part here of my notes. Okay, guys, let me know who is here, how are we hanging out. Lisa Villalobos, how are you? You're struggling? I'm sorry to hear that. A lot of people are struggling. They are, so you're not alone, and you're in a safe place here. Gen Z loves. How are you, Gen Z? But my soul sister, how are you? Rosemarie, how are you? I'm sorry, Rose Williams, sorry. How are you doing? It's been a while. I love seeing the return people. It warms my heart. The G spot. Hey, hey, hey. My bestie, Christy 35, what she says. I'm guilty of not putting the learning to action. We all are, Christy. We all are. And sometimes no one is telling us that we're supposed to put the information, the knowledge, all of the learned content into action, right? We just kind of forget. Well, we don't even know, right? There is no blueprint to life. There's not. But if you surround yourself with people who, what I like to say of like higher consciousness, like myself, that's not coming from ego, that's just coming from my real experience, guys, then, when you hang around with people who are on that journey of betterment, of evolution, of a soul, then you're going to have the language, you're going to be around the realness of how you can also keep, on your path, okay? Alrighty, guys. So are we still good? Everyone's still good here? I'm going to keep moving forward. Are you guys liking the content? Are you guys resonating? We're on the same page? All right, I'm going to keep rolling. All right. All right. The next part here. So again, let me read my note again. Right. So let me see how I want to put this thought out there. So one thing that I think is also a nice transition point is to take the time to appreciate other people. And even if other people, their personality type is opposite of you, or if they have things about themselves, or they have traits that maybe trigger you, or they have elements of their personality that like just rub you the wrong way. What we've been doing here in the last couple of sessions was going over the 16 personality types. So if you've missed that part, definitely go back and check that out. But I want to just bring one point up about that. So, initially it's natural for all of us individuals, because don't forget, we're still individual people. So we still have that individual element to us, regardless if we are able to see from others' perspectives or not. So naturally, we're going to like to be around people who are like us, because that is just how human beings are wired, okay? So it's natural for you to like to surround yourself with people who are like you, right? That's just a natural part. Now, it's also a more beautiful thing when you can learn to appreciate the traits, the characteristics, the elements of other people's, like their dynamics, right? And learn to see them from a different viewpoint, and learn to find the common ground where the two people or the experiences are actually more harmonious. So instead of just looking at like, well, they're not like me, so I don't really jive with X, Y, or Z, or these kind of people, they kind of have this element, or those kind of people have that element, or these things that we are constantly creating in our mind really take us away from the human connection of humanity as a collective, okay? So it's a great time to also know about yourself as individuals, but also be able to find the beauty, the harmonious alignment that comes from other different people and their personality types, right? There's so many, right? And even though it comes down to 16 different types, how they all express is still differently as well. But it's still nice to know that there is, that's what makes the world such an interesting, place. We're all different. That's the beauty. We wouldn't want the world to be like 1,000 million quadrillion, like of one personality type. We want to have the different components. Does it bring some complexity? Yes. Does it bring some friction? Yes. But that's designed that way. And so when you can get past like the stubborn parts of ourselves and move to the other side of, okay, I can have appreciation for people who have these traits that maybe I don't have. Or when people have these traits or these traits or these traits or whatever traits it might be, or when I see them do this or do that, even if I don't like that or I'm not that way, I can actually find appreciation, because they're all contributing. We are all contributing in our own little unique ways to the common, to the common world. So I thought it would be a great thing to mention that. All right. Also, it does come down to perspectives, how we perceive the world. We all have our unique lens of perspective. We all have a lens of how we are viewing the outside world, how we view ourselves. So it's important to remember that everyone has their life experience that also contributes to the lens they view the world in, all right? And we all have different experiences that create the lens. Now, when you can evolve yourself, you can notice that there's other ways of, perception. And even if it's different from how you're naturally looking at the world, knowing that when you're evolving and growing, you'll be able to see larger and larger from a macro viewpoint, many, many, many perspectives in situations when they're taking place in real time, okay? All right, the next parts. Hold on, before I forget, guys, let me get my ice. I'm gonna cover the next part. This live stream is not gonna be a long live stream. So if you've missed the beginning part, I suggest you rewind. We've covered a lot of great stuff, a lot of great content. Guys, if you are enjoying the content, please give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna get my ice. A quick intermission. It will not be long, okay? And we're going to complete the last portion, all right? All right, guys, give me one moment. I'll be right back. All right, guys. Thank you, guys. I had to brush my teeth, which I always do. I apologize for that. We're going to move on to the last part here of the stream. Okay. Last part here. Alrighty. The last part. Now, I did tell you guys this would be a short stream, so this is the last portion, okay? And no Zoom tonight. I have plans. Oh, okay. Sorry, I made myself laugh there. Oh, I'm not on the camera. Oopsies. Oops, I'm not on the camera. Sorry. Okay. All right, let's move this along. So in case you guys missed the beginning portion, I strongly suggest that you rewind. This is the last portion of the stream, okay? It's gonna come to my, complete the notes I have put together. So here we go. Let me pull my notes up. Last part. All right. So in this segment, we've been covering the personal development. And in tonight's, we're covering mindset based on the title of the video. It's important, guys, that you are always thinking about, what you're learning in these sessions with me, taking the time to reflect on them, throughout the entire week, and putting them into play. Because what is the purpose of learning and consuming information, whether it's here with me or anywhere else, or a book, or online, or whatever you're doing, right? Make the exchange meaningful and valuable to your life. It is your life. You only get one life to live. You want to make the most of it, right? You want to leave this earth knowing that even if you're, closer to the end of time, for your own life expansion, right? It's never too late to really give yourself that opportunity. It's never too late for anybody. If you can be retired, there's no time span on choosing to put into play, right, for yourself, the betterment of who you can become, who you were always meant to be, okay? So, uh-oh. Am I in here or not? Yeah, I am. Okay. So the last part here is, let's remember to decide what we're going to focus on. So, we learn all the good material, the good content. We have our notes. Hopefully you're taking notes. Tomorrow you wake up and life hits you in your face. You're like, oh my God, what happens? What happens? Right? So you can decide what you're going to focus on. You can decide, there goes my day. It's over. It's effed up. This happened, and now it's going to ruin my entire day experience. Or you can say, oh, well, that is not how I wanted to start my day, but I don't have to let that be how I let my day, play itself out. The stronger you are inside to direct your energetic, and the more practice over periods of time, right, then you get better and better at managing and directing how you show up in this world for your own self, okay, and then for other people. So you can take the things that hit us in our face. I'm not saying every day or the next day, but, there's a lot of things that happen, and we're like left to pick up the pieces, so to say. You can decide to focus on it and think about how horrible it is. And then by no means, I'm sure it probably is. And it will be, subjective comparative to, every individual person and how we all perceive what is tragedy and trauma to our own self relative to our experiences, okay? But the next thing to do, guys, remember, is decide what meaning you give to the thing that took place, right? You can take the situation and decide, this means I'm unlovable. This means my family will never understand me, or this means that now that this project failed, I'm a failure, or this means I have no friends. I mean, I'm just doing my best to throw out random things, but apply it to your own experience, excuse me, and decide what things mean to you. But it applies on the largest scale and on the most minute of scale of things. It could be like you stub your toe and now you feel like you're in a bad mood for the rest of the day, right? Or it could be something larger and you faced heartbreak and now you think that everyone else will always break your heart, okay? So you get to decide the meaning you give to events in your life, the health crisis, the images you may have with your body, healing, maybe there's some health challenges, relationships, friends, lovers, partnerships, business partners, colleagues, peers, acquaintances, children, spouses, events that took place in our life with family members, with achievements or the lack of achievements, accomplishments, failures. We get to decide what meaning we give to these events, okay? And the next part is decide what you're going to do about those things. So you can decide, well, my life is over. This failed. I put all my energy, all my attention into it, and it failed. And so now I'm just left to be nothing for the rest of this life. And trust me, people do that. So it's not very far-fetched. It's real. You can say, the last 2 times I gave love a chance, it failed. So you may not be willing to the 3rd or 4th time or the 100th time, right? The last time you put effort into a friendship, it didn't work out, or a business project, or maybe a new health plan, right? We set small goals, medium-sized goals, large-sized goals, and if we don't hit those benchmarks that we strive for, the first time, the second time, the 100th time, it's very easy to, number 1, be discouraged, and number 2, not want to try again, right? But the thing is even if you failed 100 times, it's not over. It's never over. And we forget about that. And that is about cultivating a mindset of strength within. I have a very strong mindset. You can ask anybody who knows me, offline, family, friends, they'll tell you. I didn't become this way overnight. No way. And it doesn't mean I don't have my own inner failures, pains, and weaknesses. I certainly do. I most certainly do. But I'm aware. I will pick myself up every single time I feel that I failed in an experience or a situation, or I didn't handle something the best way I should have. I have the awareness to know, all right, I didn't like how I handled that. I'm not going to let it beat myself up for the day or for the week, God forbid, longer than that. I'm going to, keep going, try again, right? Right. So decide what you're going to do about things that happen in your life, right? It's important. So the last part is about the growth mindset. Let me pull up my next little piece up here. Yep. So if you guys remembered in the very beginning of me announcing the segmentation, the rollout of this whole personal development series and segmentation, there were a couple of books that I mentioned that would be, important. They're not critical, but I would say they're critical if you really want to push yourself to greatness. Okay. There were 3 books. Well, there was more than 3 books, but there's a handful of books that I would recommend for those who are really looking to become their best self. But I'm not going to go through all the books tonight. That's not the purpose. We're going to do it in baby steps. But in this, in this video, we talk about the growth mindset a lot. And I've always been a growth mindset person. It's very easy to be a fixed mindset person. Now, this does not mean that your personality is fixed or growth. This means like how you approach life, how you approach situations, encounters, you name it, projects. Do you approach it with, I hit this brick wall, now I can no longer move forward? Or do you approach it with, I hit this brick wall, damn, this really hurts. And I don't like how this feels. I'm bruised up. This is really, really, really bad. It doesn't feel good. But what can I learn from this pain? Who am I now? Am I a better person for having to endure the trauma, the pain, the heartache? What can I learn? What can I grow from this? If this was something that I was meant to experience in this lifetime, no matter how traumatic it is, what can I learn? What are the lessons I'm supposed to learn? Nothing is accidental. Nothing ever is it's all purposeful. Hard to imagine that, but it really is. There are things that we are meant to go through that are building up who we were supposed to become. There's hardships, pain, trauma, sacrifice, a lot of enduring of a lot of things that we all can probably relate to on different levels. It doesn't mean that we deserve those pains, no, but it does mean that we are supposed to understand that it's not about the pain. It's not about that we deserve it. It has nothing to do with are we worthy of more, but it has everything to do with how we approach our interpretation of that problem, that pain point, that hurt, that heartache, that traumatic situation, how we're going to approach that. What meaning are we going to assign to it? Are we going to let that be the end of who we become? Are we going to stop growing because now life stops? Or are we going to look at possibility, opportunity, solutions? Are we going to pull the strength from within us and be resourceful with how we can grow and evolve from these situations that could have been very unfair? Adversity, challenges, struggles, trials and tribulations. It's endless, guys, okay? Who we are and who we show up to be in this process is everything. It's everything, all right? Now, hopefully y'all are still with me. Hopefully y'all are still with me. Here's the last part. Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen. This is the last part, okay, guys? Let me make sure I'm sharing this correctly. Share screen. Chrome tab. Okay. Let me make sure we can see it properly. Thank you, 11 Bella Vendetta. How are you? Thank you, sweetie. Okay, Sandra. All right, we're good. All right, guys. So here's the last part of this stream, okay? Oopsies, I don't want to move this up too much. I gotta make sure I can see it properly though for my screen here. That way you can see it. Okay. Yep, I can see it from here. Alrighty. So from here, you'll be able to see on the screen here, fixed versus growth mindset. The two basic mindsets that shape our life, okay? How to fine tune your internal monologue that is scoring every aspect of your life, right? From leadership to love. Great article, guys. Let me scroll a bit further down so you can see why I chose this book here to be part of our session, okay? Now, we're not going to read the book together. That's not what the purpose of this is, but I do want to at least bring resources to you that I believe are very important, you know, that can help develop you as individual people, that I believe are insightful, informative, and of quality, okay? I'm a quality kind of gal. All right. But you guys know that by now. Okay. So, yes, and I'm gonna actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end it with her quote. She has a really good quote. Okay, so the author of this book, can you guys see it or not? I'm not sure if my screen is showing it properly or not. But basically, a lot of students, teachers in personal development, just in corporate America, recommend that people get this book because it really helps when you're building teams. If you work on a lot of projects with people, it's also a great book to have. If you're an entrepreneur like myself, it's a great book to know how to make sure you have that culture and that cultivate an area of like growth, opportunity, expansion, not restriction, contraction, and fixation. Okay. So let me make sure I can see this in the damn screen. Yep. I think so. I think so. All right. So she gives a lot of, the author Carol Dweck, she's a doctor, a PhD. She has a lot of great information a lot of speeches. You can find her on YouTube. She has a great amount of speeches, but I will end it with this one speech, okay? Not me. I'm not going to read her speech. I'm going to play it. It's like what, maybe 2 minutes long at maximum. All right. What's up? She says, do what you love and don't stop until you get what you love. Work as hard as you can. Imagine the immensities. Okay. If you're into like psychology, it's also, so again, these are components that are like toggling on development, improvement, personal awareness, personal development, psychology. These are topics that I feel are near and dear to my heart. They're near and dear to the way I live my life. So I want you to see the article. She's also in, she uses, well, I guess, components from, I guess, Stanford. You can read this article yourself. You can Google it later. But basically, I'll read one paragraph of this article. One of the most basic beliefs we carry about ourselves, Dweck found in her research, has to do with how we view and inhabit what we consider to be our personality. A fixed mindset assumes that our character, intelligence, and creative ability are static givens, which we can't change in any meaningful way. And success is the affirmation of inherent intelligence. An assessment of how those given measures up against equally fixed standard, striving for success and avoiding failure at all costs become a way of maintaining the sense of being smart or skilled. A growth mindset, on the other hand, thrives on challenge and sees failure not as evidence or unintelligence, but as a heartening springboard for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. Out of these two mindsets, which we manifest from a very early age, springs a great deal of our behavior, our relationship with success and failure, both professionally and personal context, and ultimately our capacity for happiness. That's an amazing paragraph to read again later, okay, guys? And hopefully you guys can see this little chart there, and you can do your own research for those who are interested in that, okay? The consequences of believing that intelligence and personality can be developed rather than being immutably ingrained traits, Dweck found in her 2 decades of research with both children and adults are remarkable. She writes, now I'm not reading the whole thing, okay, guys? For 20 years, my research has shown that the view that you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. It can determine whether you become the person you want to be or whether you accomplish the things that you value. How does this happen? How can a simple belief have the power to transform your psychology and, as a result, your life? So she goes into saying about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So as you guys know, I recommended from earlier on that you guys get the book if you'd like to. If you're not interested, and if you're not someone who likes to read, you know, that's fine. But I will put the link to the article here, okay, guys? Here is the link to the article. And I will get out of the screen share now. I'll remove from stream. Alrighty. So yeah, if you were here at the beginning, I did mention that the books that I thought would be very important for those who were interested in that. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you, Bella Vendetta, for your donation. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. And the last but not least, we're going to end this with this. Okay. Let me find it for us, guys. I will find it. And that's the last part of us tonight. Okay. Let's see. And I should have had the link pulled up, but here we go. All right, here we go. Let me find it. It's been a while. I know. I will pull it up. Here it goes. I really like it too. It's a really good one. We'll find it. It's not very far back. I know that for sure. All right. It's a short one. Short little clip. Here we go. That's not it. On earth. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna find this damn one. Sorry guys, I really do. I should have had it pulled up. I didn't, so I do apologize for that. Okay, I found it. I found it. Thank God. Okay, let me before I do it. Okay. All right, this is it. Okay, guys, and then we move forward. We'll close the stream out. So this is how we're gonna end the stream. Okay, no Zoom tonight, but. And by the way, on Zoom, there's a way that I can create a channel on Zoom where we can all hang out, interact, like a chat, even when we're not all live together. So I'm going to set that up so we can all be there and have a place to go to, even when I'm not in the session, right? So I'm going to create that later on so I can give you guys that link, okay, next time. All right, let me make sure. Oh, I think I have to unmute that. I forgot that. Okay, share screen. Chrome tab. Here we go. Here we go. All right. I'm gonna hit play, make it a big screen. Yep.
It's not the critic who counts.
Oopsies, pause. Sorry. All right, make sure this is as loud as it can go. Yep. All right. All righty. All right, guys, this is about, let's see how long this is, not long, 3 minutes long. Okay, guys, here we go.
It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done it better. The credit belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with blood and sweat and dust, who, at the best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who, at worst, if he fails daring greatly. Not about winning, it's not about losing, it's about showing up and being seen. The second thing, this is who I want to be. I want to create. I want to make things that didn't exist before I touched them. I want to show up and be seen in my work and in my life. And if you're going to show up and be seen, there is only one guarantee, and that is you will get your ass kicked. That is the guarantee. That's the only certainty you have. If you're going to go in the arena and spend any time in there whatsoever, especially if you've committed to creating in your life, you will get your ass kicked. So you have to decide at that moment, I think for all of us, if courage is a value that we hold, this is one guarantee, and that is you will get your ass kicked. That is a guarantee. That's the only certainty you have. If you're going to go in the arena and spend any time in there whatsoever, especially if you've committed to creating in your life, you will get your ass kicked. So you have to decide at that moment, I think for all of us, if courage is a value that we hold, this is a consequence. Philosophy about criticism, which is this: if you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. Theodore Roosevelt comes up and a quote comes up. And I read it. And this is what it says. It's a quote from a speech that he gave in the early 1900s at the Sorbonne. And a lot of people call it the Man in the Arena speech. And this is the passage that changes my life. It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done it better. The credit belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with blood and sweat and dust, who at the best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails daring greatly. It is not about winning. It's not about losing. It's about showing up and being seen. The second thing, this is who I want to be. I want to create. I want to make things that didn't exist before I touched them. I want to show up and be seen in my work and in my life. And if you're going to show up and be seen, there is only one guarantee, and that is you will get your ass kicked. That is the guarantee. That's the only certainty you have. If you're going to go in the arena and spend any time in there whatsoever, especially if you've committed to creating in your life, you will get your ass kicked. No philosophy about criticism, which is this. If you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback.
All right, guys. So that was that. Alrighty. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being with me, hanging out with me. I love you guys. I'll see you soon, okay? And then for those who are on my Facebook group, I will post that Zoom channel link there as well for those who would like to get to be part of that, okay? I'll see